So I'm very proud to have Captain Yogesh Pai on So What's Next today. So I'm extremely happy to have you here, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. I'm hoping to have a really insightful conversation with you. To start off, I want to ask you this: what's the difference in mentality like? I mean, before you joined the Air Force and then after you joined the Air Force, what was the shift in mentality that happened?
Well, the training of the armed forces is such that they teach you very very important things in life, which transforms your attitude towards life. The first being discipline, the second being the way you conduct yourself, and the third and most important thing is patriotism. Whatever you do, it's for the nation, and for that you should be willing to give anything and everything, including your own life.
And that's like the trainings, the mentality,
Absolutely,
like
absolutely.
very rigorous. How long were they
Absolutely.
like?
So we are like young rookies, coming out of, like in my case, pure civilian background, and the training qualities of the highest standards, and they ensure that whatever your background is, they mold you, they groom you into the finest officers in the world.
Okay, so then when you joined, like, how did you rise above the ranks?
Yeah, so we have a structured training. Like I came through the National Defense Academy, which is a rather long and very rigorous 3 years of training. And since I was an Air Force cadet, I went to the Air Force Academy in Hyderabad, did my flying training, which is about 1 year, which is again very, very challenging. And thereafter, as far as the promotions are concerned, coming to your specific question, in the initial stages, we have assured time-bound ranks. Like after a certain number of years, you are promoted to the next rank, provided you meet certain basic requirements
Criterias.
like the medicals and your minimum appraisals, and of course you should be fit to continue in whatever branch you have joined. And at a later stage in life, it's like a pyramidal structure. So the number of vacancies keep reducing as you go up. So not everyone can make it. So sometime at some stage, you are one of the people who don't make it,
Yeah.
and that's where the time comes for you to take a call. Should I continue, or should I look for something better outside?
So, like during the trainings also, there are a lot of people who quit.
Yeah.
Like they just can't go through the trainings
Yes, absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. So a lot of people have wrong notions about the armed forces, and they join thinking that it's a cushy life. It's definitely not a cushy life. What you see is the glamorous part, especially on screens and in the social media. But it's a very challenging life, especially the training part. And about 10% out of 300 cadets we join NDA, about 30 cadets run away because they find the training too tough to handle.
Yeah, I think many more than that as well run away in the first few days as well.
Yes,
You
yes,
know, because
yes.
and what you're saying about the glamorous life, I think you're mentioning the parties and everything that people watch it on screen, and then
Absolutely, absolutely.
you know.
So people feel that I want to join the Air Force, so I join the National Defense Academy, put on a Ray-Ban, go and ride a bike or something. Sorry, it's not like that. You have to struggle your way up, and you have to prove that you have the right metal in you
Yeah.
to make it to that grade, which is
Yeah.
very very challenging.
I know. I think you served also in like Siachen, Himalayas, and also you've been through that entire journey as well. That
Yes.
the tough conditions that are out there, mentality, everything you've done, all of that. Can you tell me that experience? What was it like?
Yeah, Siachen Glacier is something which is very close to my heart because I was posted there for 2 years. I was posted to Leh, and we used to fly into the Siachen Glacier almost every day. And my experiences were so memorable. I can tell you till my death. I can keep explaining my memories and
Please do.
describing them
Yeah.
to my future generations. And the best part, why it is so memorable, is because what we did is something not practical anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Because Siachen is the highest battlefield in the world, and our Indian Air Force pilots, the landings we do, have been recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest landings in the world on a regular basis. So there are helipads at a height of 22,000 feet where we land, which if I tell any pilot in the world, they will say just not possible. You guys are crazy. So this kind of crazy flying we have been doing regularly for past more than 30 years.
I know it's the highest battlefield in the world, right?
Yeah.
So then, what was the flying conditions and all that? How did you used to live there as well?
To be very honest, there was nothing which was conducive to flying. Everything was extraordinarily challenging. To begin with, the terrain, like I said, flying at 22,000 feet, very challenging. The temperatures, minus 60, minus 70 degrees. You're flying in a machine which has been declared unfit to fly at that altitude.
Yeah.
Very challenging, but the Indian Air Force pilots have tested it to its limits. The French pilots, who are the original manufacturers of this Cheetah helicopter, they themselves refused to fly, saying that no, this is really courageous flying which you are doing. We would not like to involve ourselves. So, but this kind of challenging flying, Indian Air Force pilots have been doing day in and day out for so many years now. And of course, it requires a lot of courage to fly there, because every day you are fighting against the weather, against the terrain, against enemy fire, against all adverse conditions. But you never let your guard down, never say no, and you always look forward to more flying every day.
You know, I read it yesterday only that more people have died over there because of natural causes.
Absolutely.
More than the like fire, gunfire situation.
Yes.
I think
yes.
there's been no gunfire since the last 12 years over there.
Yeah, it's basically an area where, we dominate all the heights.
Yeah.
And whoever dominates the heights, he retains that part of the country. And it's a very, very inhospitable terrain. And I must mention here that our Indian Army troops are doing a fantastic job living in extraordinary conditions. It's beyond your imagination, staying in minus 60 degrees temperatures in 8, 9, 10 feet of snow, and keeping their machine guns warm with their hands, and staying in caves with hardly any facilities. So it's really very, very challenging life for them.
Can you tell me what was the story that when we captured Siachen in 1984, what went down? Because as far as I know, the Pakistan military first got to know about Siachen as a strategic location. And the Siachen Glacier, by the UN, it was declared that it's a neutral territory between both India and Pakistan.
Yes.
So then the Pakistan military got to know about that first, and how can they use it as a strategic point. But then the Indians were the first one to capture it. So can you tell me that story?
Yeah, so basically, when the ceasefire, when the partition happened, so there was a line called NJ 9842.
Yeah.
So NJ 9842 was came to an end on the map at a point beyond which it was left open and to the glaciers.
Yeah.
Because it was a completely inhospitable, inaccessible terrain, and at that point of time, the people who made the map could not even believe that anybody could venture out into this area at all. And that is why there was a grey area. I mean, there was no well identified marking as to who this area belongs to. Then in 1984, Colonel Narendra Kumar, he went on a mountain expedition into the glacier, and he found maps there of Pakistan, showing that area under Pakistan, which was not acceptable to us. He immediately came back and reported to Army headquarters, and that is when we realized that the Pakistanis were using this area by taking benefit of NJ 9842, and they are using that area with their tourist guides, the trekking guides and all that, and encouraging mountaineering to Europeans in that area. And that is where in 1984, I must tell you proudly, 114 helicopter unit, which I also served, they were the first element to go into the Siachen Glacier, and that is why that unit is called Siachen Pioneers.
Wow.
And I was part of that unit for 2 years, from 1992 to 1994.
Did you have any close calls or deaths in that 2 years that you served over there?
Well, to be very frank, every morning we used to have a briefing at the Siachen base camp before we entered into the glacier. and we used to all look at each other. We were all young officers that time. We used to smile at each other and say that बस let's आज वापस आ जाए, बस कल की कल देख लेंगे. Every day was challenging. Every day was a close encounter. Every day was, seeing death very closely.
Yeah.
Very challenging life. Now when I think back, yes, it was, something I can boast about all my life. But when we were there on ground, at that time, we used to really feel very, very bad. Ki, I hope I come back alive today. So it was really challenging. And at the same time, when we used to come back in the evening, we used to really celebrate कि चलो एक और birthday बन गया आज.
So like, do you have a particular story in mind that you want to share? Like one instance that happened that, you got really scared that I might actually die or...
It's very difficult to identify one particular situation. Almost every day we were flying deep into the glacier, supplying ammunition, supplying kerosene oil, supplying post. The most important thing was post. You can imagine that era when there was no mobile phone, no STD, nothing.
Yeah.
The troops in the Siachen glacier, they used to have a smile on their face when they saw us helicopters because they knew घर से चिट्ठी आ रही है. Imagine a guy staying in Kanyakumari getting a letter in Siachen glacier. He is receiving in that letter after 1 month.
Yeah.
That was the only communication with his family. And when we gave him anything else, we used to give him fresh rations or anything, to eat or something. He used to just ignore that. For him, the ultimate motivation was the letters could be one from his girlfriend.
So, but coming back to Siachen, it's also like in between India, Pakistan and China is also there.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a ridge between Siachen and Balochistan, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So like it's a very what do you say, like sensitive area.
Yes.
And it's very strategic for India as well.
Absolutely.
So first, can you tell me like why is it so important for India? Secondly, can you tell me that how is the union or the alliance between Pakistan and China actually very harmful for us, not only now but like 10 years down the line as well?
Okay. We need to go back into history to understand the answer to the question you just asked.
Yeah.
Right from independence, all the wars we have had, we never initiated the war.
Correct.
It was the Pakistanis who attacked us first in 1948. They forced entry into our country, into Kashmir. They captured a part of Kashmir, which is now called the Pakistan occupied Kashmir.
Yeah, okay.
We didn't initiate anything. Next, in 1965, they tried again attacking India. They failed miserably. They were defeated. 1971, they tried. They again failed. They were beaten very badly. Kargil, once again, they initiated. Again, they were beaten very badly. Now, coming to China, 1962, China on their own attacked India and captured Siachen. Once again, forced entry into our country, forced occupation.
Yeah.
So when these people are doing such things, they are definitely not our friends. So neither Pakistan is our friend, nor China is our friend. Now when two enemies combine, you can imagine how bad it is for our country. So definitely Pakistan and China coming together is not good news for our country. So we have to be we have to be prepared. And that is why our armed forces are being, spruced up, to take on both Pakistan and China attacking us together at the same time. And I must say that a lot of work has been done on the border areas. The fact that we are still occupying Siachen is because that area is the most strategic place. If we are not holding on to Siachen, then they merge into each other, Pakistan and China, and they dominate that area. And once they dominate that area, they are going to slowly creep into our country through Kashmir and maybe further beyond. So it's just a matter of time.
So like in the next 10 years, even when you look at history, Pakistan and China has been supplying a lot of economic, military and all the kinds of wars and ammunitions to Pakistan, and Pakistan has been indebted to them since a long time, right? So that is why it's like crucial for both the countries to kind of maintain good relations with each other, right?
Yes.
So 10 years down the line, what do you think like can happen?
See, today's scenario globally, it is the economic power which decides the strength of a country.
Yeah.
So if you notice, India is slowly gaining, importance globally as a financial power. Today, it's the fastest growing economy in the world and the fifth largest economy. So with that in mind, obviously, war is not one of the ways to attack any country. It is the economic, you know, fight on the economic front. So Pakistan, as of now, you are all aware that is, it's completely shattered economically. So it doesn't have any potential to fight. China is trying to, still back up Pakistan. So 10 years down the line, as I see it, Pakistan, unless they do something drastically well, they will, not get out of this economic bad situation, economically very, completely shattered situation. China is going to, throw its as far as possible tantrums and try to spruce up Pakistan. But as I see it, the way India is growing, 10 years down the line, also I don't think there is anything that China and Pakistan can do, even if they get together.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
That's great then. So like I want to get a different perspective on this. You mentioned Kashmir, and like they can, if they get together, if Siachen was not in our control, they can get into it. Can you tell me, like, because of the wars and everything that has been happening in the past, what is it like for the Kashmiris now to live over there? Because so we as civilians in Mumbai or other areas, cities, we got used to like lockdowns and curfews in 2020, but for them it's a very natural thing, and it's been happening since 3 decades now.
Yeah.
So can you tell me those 3 decades, like what is it like for a Kashmiri to live there?
Okay, here I would like to mention that I was posted to Srinagar
Yeah.
in 1989, and I was eyewitness to one of the first ever bomb blasts that happened in Srinagar. So I have seen with my own eyes the change that happened in Kashmir, especially in Srinagar. And this was somewhere in January, February of 89 when I was there in Srinagar for some training. And the locals were slowly getting aggressive, and they started telling us that aap log India se aaye ho, which we as youngsters never liked.
Yeah.
But the fact was that that is a time when Pakistan was slowly brainwashing the youth on, radicalizing them and making them think against India. And thereafter, what happened is already known to you all. How they managed to flush out the Kashmiri Pandits from there, and the anti-India thinking kept growing. Now, before that, before all this happened, Kashmir was one of the most amazing tourist destinations for all Indians, not only Indians, from people across the world.
Yeah.
So all the films, Hindi films of that era, all the shootings were done in Srinagar or somewhere in the Kashmir area. So tourism was their greatest, I will say, economy booster. But after the militancy set in, their entire tourism came to a halt. And if you ask me frankly, as normal citizens, you all will appreciate that everyone looks for peace. Because peace and prosperity go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to, not prosper in life. Everybody wants prosperity. And the only way prosperity can come is with peace.
Yeah.
And this is slowly sinking into the minds of the Kashmiri youth, because they know that India is doing well economically, and after the removal of Article 370, tourism has once again picked up in a big way.
Yeah.
And the boom is yet to happen. The boom is about to happen in the next maybe 4 or 5 years, and that is a time the Kashmiri youth will realize that there is no point in sticking to militancy. That's not going to take them anywhere, and that is going to be a great challenge for the Kashmiri youth to give up militancy, to embrace prosperity, and that is the only future left for them.
But I read this that because of the tourism part, it's been on a decline since 3 decades. Now it will rise up again.
Yes.
Because of that, a lot of Kashmiris were living in poverty or were forced to live in conditions that was not the way before.
Yeah.
So how did that, was there an alliance between the Kashmiri people and the military, or were there like opposing views on between the both of them?
See, there are two aspects. One is the terrorism angle.
Yeah,
Now, the Pakistanis have been, continuously sending terrorists across the line
the
of
border.
control
Yeah.
into Kashmir, and not only they are creating, situations, stone pelting from bomb blasts. It is also trying to radicalize the youth unnecessarily and trying to create an anti-India propaganda. The Indian army in the last 30 years has been at it, has been interacting with the civilian population and continuously telling them that if you support these people, you are not going to progress in life. The Indian army is here to maintain peace, not to fight a war. That thought itself is being propagated on a regular basis with regular interactions. We call it the civil military interaction.
Okay.
And in that, we are trying to, encourage the locals to help the army by, giving information about these terrorists who are holed up, generally in some of the houses. And we have progressed a lot. The Indian army has done a wonderful job. And even as per the United Nations report, as far as human rights is concerned, Indian army is one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And the way we have looked after the civilian population in Kashmir, it is really amazing and commendable.
Can you tell me any valor stories from the Air Force which only few people or the personals know there, but the general public don't know about that?
Yes, we did mention about the Siachen Glacier.
Yeah.
Like we covered a lot about whoever dominates the heights, he is the king. So I was posted there in 1992-93, and there was one particular sector where there was a Pakistani helicopter, again a cheetah helicopter, because that's the only helicopter which could sustain operations there. And they captured a new height, and they started very accurate firing on our army troops. And this operation lasted 3 days, in which we had to retaliate. And I can say with pride that I was party to this particular operation, wherein we picked up anti-aircraft missiles and positioned them at this sector. And finally, we managed to shoot down this Pakistani helicopter and retrieve the situation well in time. Had we not done that, probably the Pakistani army would have dominated more posts at heights and caused more damage to our troops. So this was an incident which probably has not been highlighted enough at that time, but this operation was very challenging, very meticulously planned. We carried out flying in very challenging and adverse situations. We were also under threat of enemy missile fire, but we planned it out very well. We used the terrain. We have something called terrain masking, wherein we use the terrain to hide ourselves
Yeah.
from the enemy's line of sight, and managed to go through the operation. So there are many such valor stories which are not known to the common public. The second incident I can narrate is which was in public domain, but the intricacies of that operation was not known.
Disclosed. Yeah.
So this was during the Kargil, just after the Kargil, skirmish, that one of the Pakistani intelligence aircraft spying on us ventured into our territory, in the Run of Kutch area in Gujarat. So one of our fighters, which was on standby for air defense role, it got airborne, and it engaged this aircraft. And despite giving warnings, that guy, didn't relent. He continued operating in our area, and we had no other resort but to shoot it down. So a MiG-21 aircraft shot the Pakistani Navy's Atlantic aircraft, and that was again a great success story as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned. And for every such incident there is a fallout. Like in the Siachen Glacier, after we shot down their helicopter, they didn't take it very nicely, obviously.
Yeah.
So they positioned 500 missiles there, and they wanted revenge.
Yeah.
And after that, we didn't stop flying. We continued our flying. But it was very challenging as we had to take extra protection. We had to ensure that all our routes are sanitized. All our sortie planning is keeping in mind their missile positions. It was a game of guessing as to who's likely to do what. So it's all mind games that goes on, and there are many such valor stories which I can't tell you offhand. And the best part about the armed forces is there is no holiday for us.
Yeah.
Whether it is war or at peace, we are always called. And that here I would like to highlight that there is something called disaster management.
Yeah.
We call it aid to civil power. And whenever there is any calamity, whether it be floods, be it earthquake, be it landslide, be it anything, we are the first responders, and we are always on standby. Air Force.
I was going to ask, my next question was going to be that about disaster management. So firstly, you explain what is it, like when there's a calamity or anything urgent, the army or the air force is the first one to kind of reach there and help the people over there, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell me any close calls that were there that particularly comes to your mind?
Yeah, so typically from the Air Force side, especially the helicopters, what we do is we go, first and foremost is the rescue part.
Yeah.
So you find a lot of people, normally it's the floods, we have flash floods in almost every part of the country. And it is during floods that people get marooned on rooftops, on tree tops, etc. So picking them up is really a challenging job which only helicopters can do, nobody else can do. So at very short notice, we have to get airborne, with all our equipment. So what we do is we hover over these trees or with on top of these buildings, and we pick up people, get them into our helicopter and take them to safety. It sounds very easy, but it's extremely challenging, because to explain to a civilian as to how to put on the jacket and how to look up and how to keep the position, it's very challenging. And especially when you know that it's a matter of a few more minutes before which you are going to get washed away.
Yeah.
So it is highly time critical, highly challenging, and it needs lots of courage, lots of accuracy, lots of planning.
And you used to do this like on a regular day-to-day basis?
Yes, in the thick of it, on a regular basis.
Wow. Okay, now this is heavy, very heavy. I want to get to the career part now.
Okay.
Firstly, it's a very basic question, but it's something that I think a lot of people still don't know.
Okay.
How do you get into the Indian Army, Navy or the Air Force? I know there's an exam, but like what is the preparation for that? What happens after the exam?
Okay, if I talk about the officers, there are 4 stages. You have to pass the written exam of the Union Public Service Commission. The second stage is you have to go for an interview, which is called the Services Selection Board. By the way, this interview is for 5 days.
Okay.
This is the only organization anywhere in the globe, you will not find any organization which takes 5 days for an interview. So that is the second stage. The third stage is you have to go for your medicals. And the fourth stage is you have to come into the merit. So when I say merit, just to give you the statistics, when I joined NDA, there were about 8 lakh odd people who appeared, students, and the vacancies were 300. So that is the kind of competitive edge that you need to have to get through to NDA. And I believe now the figure is much higher.
Yeah, I think so too. Can you tell me about the interview? Like, what do they ask?
Yeah, so this interview is very intense, in the sense there are 3 agencies trying to evaluate you. The first one is a psychologist. The second one is a group task officer, as to check out how good are you in a team.
Yeah.
How do you participate in a team? And the third is the interviewing officer. He basically checks you as to about your knowledge, about your honesty, about your background, about your confidence, about your leadership qualities, about your communication skills. So if you want to join the Indian Armed Forces as an officer, then the SSB is mandatory. There's no option.
What is the SSB?
The Services Selection Board.
Okay.
So this is mandatory, and it is Arya Par. Either you have it in you or you don't have it. Lot of students, go to various coaching classes and academies and all, and try to prepare themselves. but they all get unmasked. One of the jobs of the SSB is to unmask you. They want to know your bare naked truth as to what you are, how you are, and whether you are fit to join or not.
How natural are you?
How natural are you? They look for leadership qualities, communication skills, confidence, courage. Most important thing, courage. How courageous are you? Your dedication, your integrity. So there are a lot of things, we call it the officer-like qualities. So all these officer-like qualities are judged in you, and there they declare whether you are fit or unfit to join the armed forces as an officer.
And then you go to the medicals, right?
Yeah, medicals, I must mention here that if you are an Air Force cadet, the medicals are extremely, extremely rigorous.
You know, I saw one video of the army thing where people were walking in a line based on the height. If you meet this criteria, you're taken, and then if you don't, you kind of just like go home.
Yeah,
And
that is for the Jawans.
Yeah,
generally
the
we do it.
Jawans, yeah,
For the
yeah.
Jawans recruitment, we do it. For the Air Force, if you join the NDA, all of you are trained to become pilots. So your medicals are very, very rigorous in the sense it can take anything from 15 to 18 days to complete your medicals. So each and every part of your body is checked thoroughly.
Okay.
And 99% fitness is not acceptable. It's a failure.
What is 99% fitness here?
No, I'm saying in anything, if you're found anything less than 100%, you're a failure. It's a fail. So you have to be 100% fit, because at that stage, initial stage, any kind of deficiency is unacceptable to the government of India, because they are going to spend crores of rupees on your training as a pilot.
But how do they like measure mental toughness?
See, mental toughness is checked in the services selection board in the interview.
Okay.
But your medical fitness is checked during the medicals, whether you are meeting all the requirements. So when I say medicals, everything is checked. The size of your hand, your elbow, your thighs, your knees, your sitting height, your standing height, everything is checked out.
Why is it checked? Can you tell me?
Because you have to fit into a cockpit.
Okay.
So that is the reason. If you're extremely tall, you're unfit. If you're extremely short, you're unfit. So, especially for the fighters, we have something called an ejection seat.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you should be able to fit into the ejection seat and manage to pull the handle and get out of the aircraft safely. So, if you're too tall, you will not fit into the ejection seat, and that is where you will be rejected.
Got it. Wow. And you retired in 2018, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So, how difficult was it for you to settle into civilian life? Because I've found it very difficult that army officers or people from the military, when they come back after retirement, it's very difficult for them to just blend in again, and then some might have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because like I retired with more than 30 years of service and almost 35 years in uniform, because our training is rather long since I've come through the National Defence Academy. So at that age, I was 52 and I had spent 35 years in uniform. So more than half my life I have stayed in uniform. So it takes some time to, get out of that mold. But, like you asked me a question about promotions. So, like I said, there is a pyramidal structure, because of which, you have to shed people as we go up.
Yeah.
Not everyone can make it. So similarly, I was, at a stage when I had missed my promotion, and, it is up to you as an individual to take a call, whether you want to continue or whether you want to, look for greener pastures outside. And as you hit this juncture in life, when you realize that, okay, I'm not going to get promoted, you tend to, start reconciling and start, getting back to your roots.
Yeah.
And like I tell people that it was a ghar wapasi for me to Mumbai after 35 years, because it was after 35 years I came back and settled down in Mumbai after I retired.
Right.
Yeah, it takes some time to, adjust to, civilian kind of life, but it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. But have you seen any other officers having like PTSD or something?
Yeah, of course, there are quite a few officers who take some time. In fact, it takes a toll on their health also.
Yeah.
Both the physical and mental health. But it's an individual stake. You need to reconcile sometime or the other in life, because You're not going to, be forever in the armed forces. One day you have to retire.
Right.
This way or that way.
Right.
So the earlier you train and tune your mind, the more comfortable you will be settling down later on in life.
That's fair. I think it's right. But I want to ask you now, after you retired, you went into career counseling or career guidance.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
you're still doing that
Yeah.
after 4.5 years.
Yeah. See, from childhood, I am in a, slightly, कहते हैं ना जरा हटके बंदा है ये. So when my classmates were all running towards engineering and being doctors and architects and chartered accountants, I said no, I want to do something different, and that's how I joined the NDA. Now most of my course-mates at this stage in life are all flying outside, either in the commercial airlines or in the helicopters. I said नहीं, मैं जरा हटके हूँ, मैं ये नहीं करूँगा. I need to do something different in life. Some of them have picked up jobs. Again, I said no, I don't. At this stage in life, I don't want to report to somebody, because that is something I've done all my life, reporting to a boss. So it was my conscious call that I will do something which is completely different. And I started my this second journey into career guidance. And initially I joined a Pune based company and got trained. Like, it's a completely different field for me. I have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And if I have to tell a 10th standard student about all the career options available, I should know about these careers. So it took me some time to settle down, but I think I have done a decent job till now. I have handled about 200 students in the last 4.5 years, and in some cases I have really transformed their lives. Some cases were extremely challenging, and today the parents are thankful to me for having handled their children, brought them back online, and given them clarity in all their career and life goals.
That's great. That's great. I'm really glad that you were part of the show and you were here. I have nothing but respect and admiration for you and for the armed forces as well.
Thank you so much.
So I had a really insightful conversation with you, by the way, and thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. I hope with this I'm able to inspire a few young boys and girls to join the armed forces.
Yeah.
It will be a greatest achievement of my life if I can pull that off. Thank you so much.